Hi! In a previous tutorial I was talking about the basics of the quad-line kite hover. In this tutorial I'll take it a step further and give you 5 different exercises that will improve your hovers. So stay tuned! Fly your kite slowly to the top of the wind window. When you hit the top, the kite stops and hovers. Hold and tend the hover for about 5 seconds. Then slowly back the kite all the way down and land simultaneously on both tips. Launch the kite. At the top of the wind window, hold the hover for about 5 seconds. Then slowly bring your kite down and land on both tips simultaneously. Okay, once again, and now with the pilot in view. Note the subtle input to keep the hover stable. Here's the next exercise for you. Fly your kite slowly to the top of the wind window. Make 4 or 5 stops and hovers on your way up to the top. Then make another 4 or 5 stops and hovers on your way coming down too. And when landing, try to touch down both tips simultaneously. First stop. Hover for about 5 seconds. Second stop. Hold for another 5 seconds. The third stop. Hover for yet another 5 seconds. And then the fourth and final stop, going up. Next is repeating, going down. Stop and hover. Stop and hover. And finally down and land. Alrighty, here we go again, and now with the pilot in view too. Make sure once again to note the subtle input required to tend the hover. Too much and the kite soon will look unstable in the air. Experiment and find your way. Don't be afraid to take a step or two downwind to reduce the pressure in the sail when going down. Make things easier and the kite looks smoother. Okay, on to sideways hovers. Fly your kite in an arc to, let's say, the left. Stop and hover for 5 seconds while the leading edge is at 45-degree angle. Fly backwards, reversing the arc, and land on both tips simultaneously. Try to land exactly where you launched. Repeat the hovering with the leading edge at 66 degrees and finally at 90 degrees. Fly an arc to the left. Then stop and hover for about 5 seconds, making sure the leading edge is at about 45 degrees. Then reverse back down and land exactly from where you launched. Okay, again, but this time make sure your leading edge is at about 66 degrees when you do the hover, just like this. Then another reverse down to your point of launch. Tip down. Third time around, and now your leading edge should be at 90 degrees vertical when hovering. down and land. Okay, let's do it all again, and now with the pilot in view. And this time, of course, we fly the arc to the right. By the way, check out my stance. One foot well in front of the other. I find it easier to do stable sideways hovers with a stance like this, with my right foot in front when sideways hovering to the right. And guess what? I put my left foot in front when I do sideways hovers to the left. Try it yourself and see if it works for you too. Of course, you can go beyond the 90-degree angle when you do the sideways hovers. It's just a bit more difficult. But you know, practice makes perfect. And for sideways hovers, make sure to practice in both directions, left and right. Right. Exercise number 4. Start with your kite resting on its leading edge on the ground. Take off and fly the kite in reverse 3-4 meters off of the ground. Then stop and hover for about 5 seconds. Then fly the kite forwards, down, and land gently on its leading edge. Let's check it out. Take off and carefully reverse the kite about 4 meters off of the ground. Then hover for 5 seconds. Next, bring your kite slowly down and land on its leading edge. Let's do it again with the pilot in view. And again, but this time reverse the kite a little higher off of the ground. Fifth and final exercise. Start with your kite resting on its leading edge on the ground. Take off and reverse the kite upwards. Stop and hover 3 or 4 times on your way to the top of the wind window, and make another 3 to 4 stops and hovers on your way down. Finally, land your kite gently on its leading edge. Stop and hover. Take a couple of steps back to increase the pressure in the sail when ascending. And stop and hold for another 5 seconds. The final stop and hover on its way up. Hold for 5 seconds. And of course, the same goes for going down. I hope this was useful for you. Thanks for watching and bye bye!